Good morning, bonjour, mesdames et messieurs, bienvenue. Welcome to the next talk here on stage at AfroCannes. My name is Yarati Baba and I'm looking forward to listen to the next talk, and it's about where gender equality takes the center stage, and Spain is rising in a global cinema as a global cinema force and placing equity at its core. And a gentleman is hosting this panel here right now. Please welcome Kylie Figueroa on stage, and he is taking over the talk now. Enjoy.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I have here with me two fabulous women. We have Alexia Muiños Ruiz, the award-winning producer, actress, and founder of Marineda Films, as well as being an executive director of European Women's Audiovisual Network, EWA. But that's not only about Europe, which she will surely go into shortly, as well as Sara Gonzalo, a producer and CEO of the company Accidental Films, for which we'll have a quick slideshow towards the end. Thank you guys so much for coming. As the introductor mentioned, this is about gender equality as well as Spain and Spanish equity. I should mention that my background is in academics, and I was previously serving as a master's degree in international film business. And the one thing they kept on saying is keep your eye on Spain. It's burgeoning, it's going to be blowing up, and it's definitely the next wave. But the one thing that was never really touched on was this gender equity question. Would you guys be able to speak to that for a bit?
Of course. Thank you very much, and welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Yes, I have several hats, as you have introduced me. So now talking about the Spanish situation, yeah, in Spain we have now a very bold and progressive program with positive measures for women, because there has been women networks working on that. I mean, a meeting with ministries, meeting the partners, a meeting Producers Association for the last 18 years. So there has been a grassroots movement asking for positive measures. 20 years ago, there were hardly 5% of women directing films in Spain. So there were very few women directors, they knew each other, and they found each other like, okay, what are we, like aliens? But then, after the first Spanish women's network called CIMA was created, and they started a conversation so that, in the end, the Ministry of Equality and the Ministry of Culture, the one in charge of putting up the budget for the film production, in the end, they have rounded up incentive measures and point system so that the films with a women director, female writer, and female producer have extra points. And you have to score top points to get the budget, to get the money from the Spanish Film Fund. At the beginning, it was only points for female director, female writer. Then it was for female executive producer. Now it's also female composer, and the positive measures also include technicians. So if you have three women as head of teams from the photography or camera, music department I already said, artistic direction, post-production, sound, you have three women as head of teams on that, you have also extra points. And it also allows, it elevates the threshold for public financing. Usually in Europe, films can have a 50% of public funding. But with this positive measures, films of great artistic value, like very auteur films which probably won't have a massive commercial career but have high artistic values, and films directed by women can have up to 80% of public money. So it really made a change. That's why now we have moved from, let's say, 5% of women directors 20 years ago to 31%. It may vary from one year to another, but now it's quite often that we have two women, like 50% of the nominees as Best Director in Spain in the Goya Awards. Recently, I mean, in the last 5 years, it's quite common that we have two women. And Best Breakthrough Director over the last 7 years, they have it women. Also, National Prize of Cinematography. It is considered to a renowned director or producer or actress which has had an outstanding career. So in the last 10 years, they have awarded 8 women. Why? Because in the first 40 years of this award, it had been just 2 men. So now they're trying to keep it balanced. But it helps a lot with the visibility, because the first thing with gender equity and everything is, if you can see it, you can be it. If you are a young girl and you see that a woman can be a film director or an astronaut, then you see, okay, I can be that thing too. I can take that profession as well.
Absolutely, and thank you for explaining all of that. That's you even answered a couple of questions I was going to ask about different awards and such.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounds like you're describing positive incentivization from the government as well as the organizations in place for funding and so on. That's essential. I mean, you touched on those topics so well, and I'm glad that that's the case. I wonder how it would compare to places like Germany and France in terms of the gender equity for directing and the sort of behind the camera. I'm going to personally look into that afterwards. If you don't have the numbers, we can discuss. But I'm really interested in seeing how it fares to other European countries.
Yes, since I'm the executive director of the European Women's Audiovisual Network, which is an international organization thriving for greater gender equity, diversity, and inclusion. Don't be trapped by the name European, because it's not just for European or just for women. We have very few men, but there are men also supporting our work, because we know that the change to have a more diverse, equal, and inclusive audiovisual sector, it can only be done with the help of everyone, men, women, and non-binary people. So everyone should really take this change to make it more inclusive. So I'm quite acquainted with the other measures in other countries. And in fact, there's a great report published by Le Lab. They publish every December a report comparing all the positive measures in the European countries. And right now, Spain and Austria are those who have more progressive and powerful actions.
Well, super, well done.
Yeah. In other countries, right now, they are a bit behind. They are scored in other categories because they are implementing measures. But right now, the most powerful are in Spain and Austria. In Austria, because they also, when you have the team of the production has this level of being gender equal, then they give you 20,000, I think, for developing your next one, if you commit to have also a gender equal team. So in their system, they put money to guarantee that the next productions are also going to be gender equal. So it's also a virtuous circle.
Sure, for sure. I just have one more question for you, Alexia. And I don't want it to be a gotcha by any means, and I know that it's a developing topic and politically so, but I wonder, does the concepts, does the policies in place also relate to trans women by chance? In terms of, you mentioned minorities, and I'm wondering if that marginalized group is also covered.
That's a very good question. Because they are not specifically mentioned in the regulations of the calls. They are not. However, Dones Visuals, which is another women's organizations based in Catalonia, have released, I have it here in my computer, handbook of good practices for better inclusion, diversity, and also to give more visibility.
Sure.
And it's a great toolkit. Well, perhaps I can pass you the link or something.
Yeah, I'm happy to see it after, for sure.
Yeah. And even with a test. This handbook has a test so that you can check in your script if you're including, let's say, either LGBTQR or gender measures or people who can be marginalized by their origin, religion, ethnicity, race,
Sure.
or disabled or mental illness. So there are 5 blocks of possible reasons why some groups could be marginalized and underrepresented in films. So this handbook of good practices is really helpful in order to realize what we're doing, what kind of films or content we are writing and producing. Are we representing them in a stereotypical way, in inclusive? So it's very, very well done.
Super.
I would love to.
I'm happy to talk
share.
about this more.
So
Yeah, for sure.
this is on the conversation, but not yet in the law.
Understood. And thank you for that whole scope of where it's been and where it's at. That's very, very interesting stuff. I will throw it over to Sarah, though, just to have a little more information on the production and the incentives. I believe we discussed co-productions as well, but if we could talk more about the financial and sort of cross-national policies in place in Spain.
Bueno, first of all, I want to introduce myself. My name is Sara Gonzalo. As he explained, I was a producer of a Spanish company. It's called Accidental Film. Accidental Films is a recently company I created 1 year ago. Before this, I was working in the Spanish industry during 25 years. In the last 13 years, I was working for a Studio Canal group. And 1 year ago, I decided to jump and create my own company. So now I am in this adventure of an independent producer. What I want to explain you is about Spain. Spain is a territory that is very interesting in terms of co-production now and in terms of shooting, because as you know, it has an incredible tax incentives. Especially Spain have different territories. Depending in the place that you shoot, you can apply for different tax incentives. The main line, the principal tax incentives is 25% of the, 30% of the first million that you spend in Spain and 25% of the rest of the amount that you spend in Spain. So if you go there, if you spend 1 million, you will receive 300,000 euros from the government. This is the worst tax incentives, and it's very good. But you have different territories, especially, for example, Canary Island is the place that my company is set. You can receive more than 50% of the money in tax incentives. For example, if you go there and if you spend 1 million in Canary Island, you will receive 500,040 euros from tax incentives. So if you have a producer that you want to co-produce with Spain, or you want to produce in your nationality but you want to do as a service, you have to know that you can receive 50% of the money that you need from the government of Spain for the tributary agency. So I think that is a very interesting place in terms of money. But of course, not only in terms of money, it's a pity because I have a lot of pictures, really, really cute of Spain. So I thought that all of you are going to go to shoot there, or at least are going to holidays, because the pictures are amazing. But in terms of the tax incentives, Spain is incredible. This is like this. I think that is the best territory in Europe, and I think that one of the best in the world. But add to that, Spain have an amazing stage and place to shoot in. Everybody knows Spain in terms of beach, good weather, and this kind of landscapes. But in the north of Spain, there is another place more similar of UK or Ireland, with green landscape, not desert. So what I want to explain you is Spain have all these possibilities to shoot. You can go there, it seems that is Africa. You can go there, it seems that it is United Kingdom. You can go there and you have palace, you have castles, you have architecture. So in a small territory, you have a lot of places. And this is a good value, because what it means is that you can move quickly. And maybe in 2 hours by train, you can go to different places to shoot. And at the end, the other value of Spain is the crew. As you know, in the last year, all American producers came to Spain to shoot. So now we have a very good crew. All of them speak English. All of them has to shoot with American talent, UK talent, and all these kind of people. So this is a good value too, that the crew is very professional in Spain, and the talent writers, the OP, directors. So I think that these are the three values that now you can find in Spain.
That's super. Thank you for again, all that information. You guys are just laying it all out there. I think it's fantastic.
I can show you the pictures if you
They are
want in my
beautiful
town.
slides, to be fair. I'll do my best to put them on the screen as soon as we can find the tech. Apologize. I do apologize again. I should just say, everything you're saying is incredibly positive, and I also want to say that I was unaware of the multiple sort of biomes, or not biomes perhaps, but like the environments of Spain. I sort of had the deserty, hot mind set for it, sort of like the Madrid sort of energy when I think about Spain. And I can say that myself, I'm a screenwriter as well as a producer, and I'm working on an alien science fiction film. I was going to be shooting it in South Africa because I wanted the 5 different biomes, but now that you mentioned these incentives, that sounds really fascinating. Of course. We have the check here, actually. If you could just hand it over to him. Yes, of course. Sorry for the delay. Thank you. Sorry, but I just wanted to say everything you're saying sounds wonderful, and we will shortly see the very beautiful slides. But I just wanted to touch base on the sort of obstacles and the obstructions which are present with filming in Spain, because obviously in filmmaking it's not always roses and such. So what are some of the main obstacles that you guys experience and you think is experienced in Spain with regards to gender equity or otherwise?
Well, that's also a good question. Now life might seem right. There are 2 Spanish films in the official selection, both by young directors. One of these young directors is a woman, Carla Simón. She won Berlinale 3 years ago, I think. The other, Oliver Lache, is a man, but his 4 films have been selected here. So it looks like everything is bright. However, this is linked to the political context. So unfortunately, I don't want to say unfortunately, but perhaps when the policy changes and we have a different party, most likely they won't invest so much in culture and in audiovisual content because they will have probably other kind of policies. And that's the thing with gender equity. We are also experiencing that with the EVA network. That now is really way harder to finance activities because some funds says, okay, we have been supportive for gender equity and inclusion years ago. Now is the green shift, or now is AI. Now we don't want to support these. We want to move to other fields. It's not fair because right now we can't say that audiovisual content or production is 50% or is completely inclusive. It's not. It's still been very white, very male, very
standard, very traditional. Yes, of course. Yes.
Traditional, and we see really stereotypical depictions for women. Sorry,
I believe that's the wrong slide. Is that correct? Is the wrong file?
Yeah, no.
The other file. Apologies, sir.
Okay, sorry.
Apologies, but thank you. Yeah, of course. Continue.
So yeah, I think all the positive measures need a long way support, a complete commitment from the funds and all the key actors.
Of course.
So yeah, I think that's the barrier we may face. Yeah, the lack of funding.
Sure. So it's a current barrier as well as one that will surely be growing given political climates and such. I can say that I have a citizenship in the States as well as currently being based in London, and both governments are also cutting funds for the arts with an executive order from Trump, and then Keir Starmer cutting back. So it's a very complicated climate for handling these.
And it's a huge competition.
Yeah.
When we apply for grants, of course, it's like a contest. That's why every point, that's why I was stressing before, the points for having a female director, female writer, blah, blah, blah. Because, it's a huge competition. You have to have a great package to
For sure.
get the maximum score and get all the money you have applied for.
For sure, for sure. And we had some speakers yesterday, creatives from Germany, who were regarding the sort of quota-based system. And I feel like the incentives you're regarding with the points feels like a more positive incentivization. I hope it can be implemented by more European countries and people can take the Spanish model, because that seems perfect. May I ask, though, in terms of co-production, was the highest propensity with the UK, or which countries were working mostly in co-production? And I wonder if that's been affected by Brexit and any rules therein.
Yeah, this is the truth. The truth is that the co-productions with UK now are really difficult because in terms of tax incentives, all the spends that you do in UK are not eligible for tax incentives.
Damn.
So this is a problem. So the best, but we do, because sometimes some actors or talents of UK have passport of another place of Europe,
Sure.
and this is okay. So the best country, we co-produce with all countries. Latin, for example, we co-produce with Mexico, with Panama, and in Europe we co-produce a lot with France, and with German we co-produce too. And in the past with UK, the problem is that the Brexit affect a lot at the relation with Spain in terms of tax incentives. So this is the truth.
I thought it might be the case. Yeah, that's really unfortunate.
But there is ways to trying to do and make and look for solutions.
Sure, of course. As you mentioned, with the dual citizenships and such, that would be very helpful. Absolutely. I just have one more quick question for both of you, and that is for women in the industry, for people who want to support the incentives and just the progress that you guys are making and supporting. What would you say for those who are sort of seeing the bleaker side of things and looking for a message of hope? What would you say?
Wow. I don't know. Well, of course, I would like that we have true leadership in the world, not just for the film. I mean, for peace, you can imagine what I'm thinking of. Of course, we need a clear leadership, someone who understands that human cooperation and empathy, and that we can't leave other countries fall. I know, it's very sad what's happening with world politics now. And sometimes it might seem frivolous just to think about, I'm going to make a film, when you see what's happening and how people are being bombed daily and starved to death. So I really would like that the European Commission would take a step on that direction. Mm-hmm. They are doing fine in terms of supporting film production. There are several programs, and I hope they will be continued. But as I said before, as in the Spanish case, unfortunately, all these cultural programs and incentives are linked to the political situation. So when there's a shift, and it does not look very shiny, the future, because, politics always change.
Sure.
Left, right, so...
I appreciate your answer, and I totally agree. Yes.
I want to tell you what I want to change.
Sure.
I think that is really, really important that the governments in Europe and in Spain knows that it's not only necessary to have creative women in the side of creative, it's necessary to have women in the side of business. So they have to empower the producers, women. They have to boost to have women in the leaders of the companies, not only inside of creative. This is what I want.
Super.
Yeah. In fact, in every report, it's really highlighted that we need women at helm. In film commissions, directors of big festivals, directors of companies, CEOs.
Judges even at festivals and such, of course.
Yeah, because that's the way to lead the shift.
Absolutely.
And also, of course, as prime ministers.
Of course. And the political shift which needs to happen everywhere, of course, yes. But thank you so much, and thank you for those messages of hope. Can we get a big hand for two speakers, please?